Good afternoon and welcome to Genie's webinar looking at how to decide on your salary for the tax year 2018-19. My name is Helen Christopher. I'm the Operations Director for Genie Accountancy. I'm joined this afternoon by our senior accountants Adam Dove and Kevin Abranches. Over the years, we've found that when it comes to setting your salaries for the next tax year, contractors have lots of questions. So this year, we thought we'd bring you all together to go over the main considerations and look at the common options. Hopefully you'll find this information helpful and it'll make your decision easier. Once we've run through the slides, there'll be time for any questions. Let's look at a few basic points before we look at the numbers. As a director of your own limited company, you have the responsibility to decide and set your salary levels. As your accountants, we can advise you, but we cannot decide for you. That would mean we were involved in making business decisions, which ultimately is beyond our remit legally. An advantage of being a director is that without the formality of a contract of employment, you're not constrained by minimum wage legislation, and you can therefore concentrate on your personal circumstances and tax efficiencies. We also need to remember the rules around IR35. If your contract is found to be inside IR35, then your options are limited. A deemed salary calculation will need to be run, and you'll be taxed as if you were an employee attracting PAYE and national insurance on between 95% and 100% of your invoice value, depending on whether you're working in the private or public sector. For the purposes of today's webinar, we'll assume that your contract is outside R35 and you have the freedom to set your own salary level and take additional income as dividends. So how do you decide what's right for you? We all need a minimum level of income to support us and our families. Typically, contractors outside R35 will achieve their desired income through a combination of salary and dividends. Most will consider three areas. 1, how to minimise tax and national insurance contributions. 2, the need to retain a right to a state pension and potentially state benefits. And 3, whether you have a requirement to show a certain level of salary, say for visa purposes or lending requirements. Some contractors believe that to take no salary at all will draw them to the attention of HMRC. There's anecdotal evidence to support this, but we'll look at a later slide as to why you may decide not to take a salary. For most, salary will form part of the tax planning. If you have other sources of income, we also need to take these into account when deciding on your salary. For the rest of this presentation, we'll assume that you have no other income. But if this isn't the case, please let your accountant know and they can run through some bespoke numbers with you. Salaries are paid subject to tax and national insurance. The tax bands for 2018-19 are shown on the screen. The tax-free allowance for 2018-19 is £11,850. So any salary you choose up to that level will attract no income tax. Beyond that level, the appropriate tax rate will apply as per the table on the screen. Whilst a salary of £11,850 or less will not attract a personal tax bill, it may still incur national insurance contributions. This slide shows you the national insurance contributions set for 2018-19. What it means in reality is that for a salary up to £8,424, neither national insurance nor income tax will be due. But for salaries between £8,425 and £11,850, national insurance will be due, while income tax will not. Why would national insurance payments concern you? You need to be aware that to qualify for a state pension, you have to have paid 35 contributing years into the national insurance. Depending on your view of the state pension and how this fits in with your future tax planning, you'll need to decide whether to take a salary that contributes to your qualifying years or not. A salary of at least £6,032 will have the effect of qualifying for the year, even though it won't attract a national insurance payment itself. In addition, national insurance contributions are also needed to ensure you have access to certain state benefits. These will include things like maternity allowance and job seekers allowance. If you're working temporarily in the UK before returning to your home country, you may decide that national insurance contributions are a wasted payment, and you may choose to set your salary level accordingly or take no salary at all. If you're above statutory retirement age, you're no longer required to make national insurance contributions, so a salary may not make sense for you. However, remember salaries do attract corporation tax relief, whereas dividends do not. So you may still feel that a salary is the best option. This slide summarises the tax and national insurance options of various common salaries that contractors choose. You'll also find more information about this on our website and in an article that we recently published. There are other factors that can affect the level of salary you take beyond just looking at tax and national insurance efficiencies. Your salary limits the amount you can pay into a personal pension scheme. You can't pay more than your gross salary into a scheme, and there's a maximum of £40,000 per annum. So depending on the level of pension contributions you want to take, this may determine your salary level. If you require a visa to work in the UK, you'll need to prove your income. Whilst most visas will look at your total income from a combination of salary and dividends, it may be necessary in certain situations to prove that a particular amount has been drawn as salary. You may have a loan or other financing arrangements that require proof of a certain level of income. Normally, proof of income is what is required, and lenders should look at all sources together. We have on odd occasions seen certain lenders ask for minimum salary levels. But it is a myth to think that you have to have a large salary in order to be able to obtain a mortgage, for instance. So if you feel that this is particularly important to you, you might want to talk to us first before you're deciding your salary level, because we do work with Contractor Mortgages Made Easy, who can quite often obtain mortgages for you based on your overall levels of income so that you can still maximise tax efficiencies. As I said, many contractors combine a salary with dividends. In addition to your personal tax allowance for 2018-19, you will also have up to £2,000 worth of tax-free dividends available. Dividend tax rates are lower than rates on salaries, and they don't attract national insurance contributions. However, remember, dividends don't attract corporation tax relief. The easiest way perhaps to demonstrate the impact of the interaction of salary and dividends is to walk you through an example. If your gross income for your company, or the contract value in a year, is £80,000, the above slide will demonstrate 3 common ways that contractors choose to extract the money from their business. In the first column, the contractor has chosen to withdraw all the money as a salary. After income tax and national insurance liabilities, the take-home pay is round about £49,000. In the second column, the contractor has decided to take salary that will provide 1 year's contributions towards his state pension, but doesn't attract any tax or national insurance payments. His remaining funds have been drawn as dividends, and in this scenario, you can see that he's been more tax efficient and will take home approximately £55,000 compared to the £49,000 in the salary-only route. In example 3, the contractor is marginally better off again, taking a larger salary than in example 2, this time attracting corporation tax savings on the salary as well, and after dividends the contractor will take home just over £56,000. We appreciate this topic is quite confusing and there's no real right or wrong answer, no definitive solution. It has to be a balancing act really based on your circumstances and your needs. Hopefully this information has put you in a better position to be able to make the decision and complete the salary tax declaration that we need. However, your accountant is always available to talk to you on an individual basis should you need further information. We have some time now for some questions if anybody has any. Okay, we've got one question come in, which I'll ask Adam to answer. What is the most common salary contractors choose?
Good afternoon, everyone. So many of our clients will choose a salary based mainly on tax efficiency. This year, the most tax efficient salary we've worked out to actually be the £8,424. On this salary, you would gain a qualifying year for your state benefits, and it's also the most tax efficient salary. Many clients actually prefer to pay some national insurance or some tax as well. They feel it's a little bit more comfortable with HMRC. So another common salary is actually £11,850.
Okay, thanks Adam. We've got one other question come in. I've been paying my wife a salary this year. How do I know what to pay her next year? Kevin, perhaps you'd like to answer that.
Good afternoon. I would suggest paying your wife or partner a salary of 8424, as that's a minimum qualifying salary for the year, as most of the clients go with that, as it keeps their state pension up to date.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. Do we have any other questions? Okay, so we don't have any other questions. Thank you for your time today. We will be making a copy of the webinar available to you, and we'll also send out the Q&As from the session for future reference. If you have found this webinar useful, then please let your accountant know, and perhaps you could suggest some other topics that you'd like us to cover. Once again, thanks for joining us and have a good afternoon.